Hello. Before Christmas Eve in 2000, a 16-year-old girl named Lien Chia went shopping with her friend at a mall in the city to buy Christmas gifts. After finishing their shopping, the two said goodbye and parted ways, unaware that Lien would never return. This became one of the largest and most manpower-intensive search efforts in the history of criminal investigations in England. The incident took place in Leeds, a city at the geographic center of the United Kingdom. Leeds is the third largest city in England and boasts the second largest economy in the nation, after London. It's a prosperous and livable city. Lien Chia was born in September 1984. Her father, Michael, and her mother had divorced when she was young. Lien was an optimistic and resilient girl with excellent grades. She excelled at Wheatwood High School, where her cheerful and confident personality made her well-liked by many. However, a tragedy struck her unexpectedly just before the Christmas season. What happened to her that day? Let's rewind time to November 26, 2000. It was a Sunday, and with school out and Christmas just a month away, Lien decided to meet her best friend, Sara, to go shopping for gifts at a mall in central Leeds. That day, the two roamed freely through various shopping centers in the city, enjoying their time together. After wrapping up, they took a bus to head home. They stopped to eat in Bramley, a northwest area of Leeds, before the bus reached Bramley Station. At 4:50 p.m., the two girls got off the bus and walked to Hotel Road, where they said their goodbyes and headed toward their respective homes. Lien took a dark path through a small forest called Hockley Hill. Crossing it would lead her straight home. Sara's house wasn't far from there either. Once Sara got home, she called Lien to check if she'd made it back safely. Lien's mother answered the phone and said her daughter hadn't returned yet. This worried Sara slightly, since their homes weren't far from where they'd parted. Lien's mother, Mrs. Sandon, also began to feel uneasy. Sara was already home, so Lien should have been too. Mrs. Sandon tried to reassure herself that perhaps Lien had stopped to meet friends or gone somewhere nearby, so she decided to wait a little longer. By 5:20 p.m., 30 minutes after the girls had parted, Lien still wasn't home. Normally, if Lien met friends or made an impromptu stop, she'd call to let her family know so they wouldn't worry, but not this time. Growing anxious, Mrs. Sandon called Lien's mobile phone. Strangely, it rang for a while before cutting off. She tried several more times with the same result. Why would Lien do this? It was so unlike her. By 7 p.m., with no sign of her daughter, Mrs. Sandon feared something was wrong and contacted the local police to report Lien missing. The police immediately launched an investigation. After receiving the report, officers sent investigators to Lien's home. Hearing the mother's initial account, they deemed action necessary and planned a search focused around Lien's house, starting from where the girls had parted. Lien's route home took her through Hockley Hill, a wild, wooded area that seemed a likely spot for her disappearance. That night, over 200 police officers and volunteers combed the forest, searching for Lien or any clues. Sadly, they found nothing on the first day. The next day, November 27th, police traced Lien's mobile phone. It had briefly powered on before shutting off permanently. They sent messages and called, but got no response. They expanded the search along her route home, obtaining warrants to search 800 homes, garages, and 150 shops within an 800-meter radius of the forest. Still, nothing suspicious turned up. Meanwhile, another team sifted through household waste near the forest. Helicopters and police dogs joined the effort, yet no trace of Lien emerged. Undeterred, police collected DNA from 140 suspicious men in the area. West Yorkshire Police, British Transport Police, the National Search Centre, and other agencies worked tirelessly, but no leads surfaced. They held on to hope that Lien might still be alive. As time passed, the chances of finding her dwindled. By December 3rd, a week after her disappearance, Leeds residents pitched in to help. A local businessman donated £10,000 as a reward, hoping someone might provide a clue. As media coverage grew, police received numerous tips about sightings of someone resembling Lien, but none panned out after verification. Lien's parents spoke to the press, thanking the public for their support and expressing their unwavering hope for her safe return. On December 4th, 9 days after the incident, a witness reported seeing a man walking a dog in the forest around 5 p.m. on November 26th, the time Lien vanished. The man's identity was unknown. He was about 5 feet 8 inches, slightly overweight, with a round face covered in red blemishes and scars, wearing a black knit cap, jacket, and jeans. With the witness's help, police created a composite sketch of the man and released it widely, hoping someone could identify him. The investigation scaled up with searches of 1,750 buildings, 32 storm drains, and 3.2 kilometers of sewers. It became the largest search operation in West Yorkshire history. Trash collection was halted so police could scour bins for evidence. 9 months later, a body was found wrapped in 9 green plastic bags, with yellow cables tied around the neck and hands bound behind the back. After identification, police confirmed it was Lien, missing for over 9 months. The cause of death was asphyxiation. Her body was well preserved, and forensic experts examined her heart tissue and microstructure. Based on decomposition and temperature data, they estimated she'd been refrigerated after death and dumped just weeks earlier. The coroner found the cord around her body was a rare material, produced by a company in Devon, sold in small batches for rabbit netting. Red nylon carpet fibers were on her clothes, and a man's hair, not hers, was found on her neck, likely the killer's. Police upgraded Lien's disappearance to a murder case, codenamed Operation Cloverfield. Details of the dump site were publicized, urging anyone who'd seen suspicious activity nearby to come forward. Tips poured in, and police gathered DNA from about 200 people. One suspect emerged, John Tainer, born August 27, 1956, in Leeds. Divorced 4 years prior, he lived alone 1.2 kilometers from Lien's home. Witnesses had seen him lingering near Hockley Hill, and neighbors described him as kind and reliable, noting he kept small animals at home. A breakthrough came when police traced the leather collar around Lien's neck to a Tottenham-based company that sold it wholesale to 220 dealers. The 112th dealer revealed they'd sold 3 orders to Leeds, 1 to John Tainer. The yellow cables on Lien's body were made by an Italian company, with 99% sold to Royal Mail, a British postal service. Tainer worked for their subsidiary, Parcel Force Worldwide, as a courier. Was this a coincidence? Lab results confirmed Tainer's DNA matched the hair on Lien's body. On October 16, 2001, nearly 2 months after her body was found, police arrested Tainer. They sealed off his garden and the wasteland behind his house, finding 3 large freezers, yellow cables, and green plastic bags identical to those around Lien's body. Carpet fibers matching those on her clothes were found on a nail in his home. Pollen experts analyzed samples from his garden, matching them to pollen in Lien's nose, skin, and hair, suggesting she'd been there before her death. Facing undeniable evidence, Tainer confessed. He claimed that on November 26th, as he walked in Hockley Hill, he impulsively grabbed 16-year-old Lien as she passed by, tying her hands with his dog's leash. He covered her head with his jacket and forced her to his nearby home. There, he tried to assault her on his bed. During a struggle, she fell and hit her head. To subdue her, he looped a scarf around her neck, accidentally killing her. Panicked, he wrapped her body and dumped it in linear wood, insisting her death was an accident. When asked why he abducted her, he simply said, "No comment." Police doubted his story, believing he'd planned to assault her, binding her hands and covering her head. When the jacket slipped, revealing his face, he killed her to silence her, using the cable to strangle her. His claim of immediate disposal clashed with evidence she'd been frozen for months. On February 15, 2002, over a year after the incident, a trial began at Leeds Crown Court. Tainer admitted to abducting Lien. On July 8, 2002, he confessed to her murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Detective Inspector Graham, who led the case, said, "We don't believe this was his first major crime. The premeditated murder and calculated disposal suggest prior experience. We can't rule out past killings." Suspecting Tainer wasn't a first-time offender, police reopened unsolved sexual assault cases near Hockley Hill. 2 matched his profile, a 1988 attack on a 32-year-old woman in the forest, and a 1989 home invasion of a 21-year-old. DNA linked Tainer to both. On February 2nd, 2003, he pleaded guilty to these crimes. West Yorkshire police reviewed over a dozen cold cases, including 5 murders possibly tied to him, branding him a potential serial sex offender over 25 years. Tainer received another life sentence without parole, ensuring he'd spend his life behind bars. On September 28, 2001, Lien's family held her funeral, coincidentally, her birthday. She'd remain 16 forever. This case underscores the need for caution, especially for women alone, as danger can strike unexpectedly. From a criminal psychology perspective, Tainer's actions reveal a predator with escalating violence. His calculated methods, freezing the body, using specific materials, suggest a meticulous mind, likely honed over years. His vague motive and shifting story hint at deeper psychopathy, a trait common in serial offenders who dehumanize victims. This wasn't a one-off crime, but a glimpse into a pattern, tragically uncovered too late for Lien. Stay vigilant, and we'll see you in the next case. Goodbye.